As a dad of three, talk to us about any fun CFO dad moments. How do you teach your kids about money and finances?
Man, so many different ways.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to 50T5. We bring local business owners, community champions, and all-around amazing individuals on to learn about them, their stories, or business in a quick and effective way. My name is Stephen Turnbull with T5 Insurance, your host, and I am joined by our guest today, Mr. Justin Miller, who is the Chief Financial Officer with Universal Bookkeeper. You know how it goes by now. We're going to start the clock with 5 rapid-fire questions for our guest, and then we'll get into learning a little bit more. Justin, how are we doing today?
I'm fantastic, Steve. How about you?
Oh,
now that you're in the
fantastic.
30s.
Hey, easy now. Now that the 30s are here.
Welcome to the club.
Here we go, right off the bat. Number one, what is one financial piece of advice that you think every small business owner needs to hear? First thing to come to mind.
So every business owner, I think first of all, like every person needs to be a business owner to begin with. I think every person needs to have a side hustle. I think you need to be thinking creatively how you can roll some of the things you pay for every single day into your business, because those are the things that are going to get you from just being a W-2 employee to starting to create wealth. So
Sure.
I think it's beyond just what every business owner needs to do, because like certainly, hey, I want to say Universal Bookkeeper as a pitch, right? Everybody needs to have their financials in tip-top shape, and you need to use a really great accountant. But before that, if you really want to start creating wealth for yourself as a person, you need to have a side business. You need to have something that you can roll some expenses into to try to create wealth for yourself.
So good. Everybody needs to create their life like a business. I love that. Number two, if Universal Bookkeeper, I told you right now, Justin, you have no budget. I'm going to give you all the money, and you need to create a mascot for Universal Bookkeeper. What would the mascot be, and what would the catchphrase be?
So my first thought goes to, I want it to be like the sloth from that movie Zootopia, where we're all like super slow with glasses. But at the same time, on the flip side, my other thought goes to like, it's got to be like an eagle or something cool, like a bear. Not a bear, it's not like a bear market, but I think it's got to be, our catchphrase has got to be something like, turning chaos into, not gold, it's not the right, chaos into confidence. That's a good one.
I love
Chaos
it. You heard it here
confidence.
first, everybody. You heard it here first. And now when you see it out there, you know where it came from. Hey, just stay away from the bullhorns. All right, this really cool insurance agency already has the bullhorns down, so stay away from those. All right, question number 3. As a dad of 3, talk to us about any fun CFO dad moments. How do you teach your kids about money and finances?
Oh, man, so many different ways. This past year, I made them do a lemonade stand. But we didn't do no traditional lemonade stand where you're serving, the mixer and everything. So I made them go to the store. We bought true lemonades. I bought my son a lemonade press so that we're juicing the lemonades. We actually had a side product that we developed, which was strawberry lemonades, again with real strawberries, where we're juicing the strawberries. So, and then on top of that, we bought environmentally friendly packages, right? So you're driving through, you're stopping at a lemonade stand, and you don't want just a cup because you're like driving and shaking it. Well, how about an environmentally eco-friendly disposable like packet, like a juice box that you could take with you? And so I had them keep track of all the expenses. We had 3 different price tiers, right? So your basic strawberry or basic lemonade is one price, and then it goes up to the strawberry, and then the package is a little bit more. And then had him keep track of all the expenses. And then my son, how about this? He's like recruiting all his friends, and he's like, "Hey, come work with me at the lemonade stand. I'll pay you like $2 here, $2 there." And so he's doling out money at the end of the day. And so then we did a reconciliation, and I had to have him pay me back the $25 that I put in.
The investment.
The investment, right? And he gets down to the bottom line, and he's like, "Dad, I made like $7 today." I'm like, yeah.
What a dad. No interest? You didn't charge him any interest? Man, that's fantastic. That's next summer. Well,
yeah,
after we're done recording this, I'm gonna have my people reach out to your people, and we're gonna get the Miller kids on early summer so we can boost that business.
Yes, I know.
All right, question number 4. you can magically today automate one part of your daily life besides bookkeeping,
Okay.
what would it be?
Yeah. Definitely dinner prep. So
Oh,
I rock the breakfast prep. I'm rock solid on that. I'm best when I come to the office because I don't eat anything. I just kind of work through the day. But dinner is where I like you come home from work and you're just I'm a little mini charcuterie board kind of guy when I get home from work. Little cheese, little olive, little wine,
mm,
and then I struggle bus through the dinner prep and then like the cleanup. So that whole process is like the bane of my existence. And we got to do it 365 days a year, right? So
oh yeah,
that would be the thing that my mind immediately goes to that we gotta automate, gotta streamline. And I get somebody on the payroll to kind of come be the chef of Universal Bookkeeper. That's thinking outside the box, Turnbull.
there you go. There you go. You heard it now. We got a lot. We got a lot of takeaways so far. All right, last question. Question number 5. First thing that comes to mind: one adventure that you hope to take with the family in the next few years.
So this is, I mean, definitely something that we have talked about as a family already. I did a semester abroad in Brisbane, Australia, for about 6 months. It was one of the top experiences of my life. Absolutely loved it. And, this is far off, but the Olympics are going there in not the next one, but like in the one after, right? And so I've already told the family, like, we're going no matter what, because I want them to not only one experience the Olympics, but also kind of get a little taste of what I experienced when I was in college, living abroad,
Mm,
and take 2-3 weeks to kind of do that. So kind of putting that on the radar already. It's way far out there, but that's definitely something that we've talked about. Kids are, still really young, so they're still going to be in high
sure,
school when we get to that point. But I
that's
think that
awesome.
Australia is where I'm thinking.
Sounds like a lot of lemonade to me. We got
That's
we
a
got a
lot
lot
of
of work to do.
lemonade.
It's a
So,
lot.
but listen,
It's a
my
lot of
kids are so
lemonade.
industrious. Every time we talk about going on a trip or going here or there, they start a jar and they label it whatever the thing is.
Oh, it's
And
awesome.
then they're always working for doing chores and they're putting that money into the jar. And Braden is the leader of that, my oldest, and he's just incredibly industrious and will certainly work towards. He's like, Dad, I at least got to pay for dinner. When a family of 5 at dinner is a little bit more expensive these
Uh
days,
huh.
Turnbull, so look out for that.
Especially
But
especially when you have it automated every day. Yeah, especially when you have it automated
exactly,
every day.
yeah, right, exactly. So
Well,
that's definitely something he
Justin, you
does.
survived the first 5 questions, and we're a short form podcast. We got about 15 minutes left here, and there's
All
a lot I
right,
want to
let's
dive
go.
deep into. But I want to dive into the story and specifically how Universal started and the story of where you were when that started. I'm teeing you up here a little bit for that. But
Great.
I think for the last couple of guests we've had on the theme has really been about betting on yourself, like jumping in head first, doing it. Right. And
Yeah,
like you said with the Olympic thing, like everybody could say, oh, I want to go to the Olympics. No, you're like, we're going. This is what we're doing. It's this far in
yeah.
advance, but we're going to be prepared. We're going to sell a ton of lemonade to get there. Right. And you're making that and doing it. But that's similar with
Go
the
it.
theme of how your business got started. Tell us the story of Justin Miller.
I love this. I love this story, and really, it comes back to my second son, Rory, named after the golfer. So was born 2 months premature, and he was actually in the hospital for not only being premature, but also he had pneumonia, and so we ended up actually like living in upstate hospital for a little over a month. And at that time, my wife Beth, my beautiful wife Beth, said to me, she said she was working at DFAST at the time. She said, I think that I'm going to leave my job and stay home with Rory until he gets, up to par, pun intended. And the and so I said, yeah, no problem, definitely. And we were doing 48-hour shifts in the hospital, and with my other son being at home. And it was at that time I said to her, I said, well, okay, we're sacrificing 50% of our income. What can we do as a side hustle to like
Mm,
make a little extra money? Not trying to kill it, but like how can we just stay busy, right?
sure.
On the side, something that she could also do. And so I said, I'm going to start a bookkeeping business. And it was in the hospital that I actually wrote the business plan for Universal Bookkeeper and came up with the concept, came up with the idea. And my first client is CrossFit Mohawk Valley, now goes by Mohawk Valley Wellness, was they were my very first client. I was going to the gym. I said, "Hey, John, can I do the financials for you in exchange for a membership?" And that's where it all started. And they're
So
still a
cool.
client today. Shout out to them. Love them. But from there, we worked on the business on our kitchen table, right? And at nights and on weekends. And over about a year and a half, obviously we're not advertising, we're just growing by word of mouth. And it got to the point where the business was so busy that literally I'd come home from work, 5:30, I'd eat dinner, and then I'd go back and work 7 o'clock to like 11 o'clock every single night. And I just, after, a period of time, I said, Beth, I just can't do this anymore. I've got to do one or the other, work my job or do this full time. And so we made the decision to bet on ourselves and dive in and go all in on Universal Bookkeeper. So from the beginning, we were one of the first or incubated businesses out of the Thinkubator. So the first year of my business, I worked over in the Thinkubator at a shared desk, doing tax returns, doing financial statement prep. And from there, I was there for a year, and then I shacked up with Bill Madison. It was my first office for about 2 years, and then we were growing. Added, at that point, I had 3 full-time employees that we had to move into our own office. Continues to grow. We've moved out of that office. Now we have our own place in New Hartford. So, it's just, we've been doing it for now 9 years, going on 10 years. And the only thing that I can say is it's been a consistent, it's like the stock market. It's consistent. There's been no hockey stick growth in the business, but it's consistency. And that's what makes the difference, is reliability and consistency.
One thing I want to say on that is a few of my close friends have done something similar where it's like, I'm going to start this as a side hustle. Oh, I'm busy. Oh, I got more clients. Oh, I'm doing this from 7 to 11. Oh, I need to really consider what I'm going to do. One thing that I love talking about with this is when you're in that stage, the only way to figure it out, meaning to jump in full time and do it, is to figure it out. Right.
It's
And it's the scary leap of like, I've got some supplemental income from this side hustle. And now I want to make this a full-time job, but it's not going to be a full-time thing until you make it a full-time thing. Would you agree with that?
1,000%. I have 2 quotes that I'm going to share because I'll never forget them in my journey.
Hit us with it.
From actual clients that I've worked with. Chris Talgo, I don't know, he owns the Nail Creek. He told me I was doing this part-time. He said to me, Justin, if you're not doing this full-time in 6 months, it's not because you don't have a good product. It's because you're too much of a baby to jump in, right? And I took that to heart. I was like, you're right. And then, earlier, fast forward a year or two, we're doing okay. I was presented with an opportunity to take a full-time job to make a really good salary, just, handed to me pretty much. And I'll give Bill Madison a quote. And he said, Justin, if you don't take this job and Universal Bookkeeper fails miserably, do you think that you'd be able to find another job doing what you did before? I said, yeah, probably. He's like, then what are you worried about? Just do it, right? So you got to bet on yourself. You said that from the very beginning. Super important.
And while we're on the theme of bringing people up that we've already brought up, both of our good friends, John Bartholomew, was a great mentor of mine when I was starting the business. And I'll never forget something forever that he said to me. And he was, Steven, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? What's the best thing that's going to happen? What's probably going to happen? Right? If you can be all right with what the worst thing is that's probably going to happen, what's probably going to happen is going to be way more than you're expecting, right? And then look at what's the best thing that's going to happen and fall in the middle of that.
Totally.
Changing topics. You talked about consistency. 10 years in, you've got a beautiful new building. You've got a rock star team. You started this in the hospital when your child was in there as a dream, as a side hustle. What would you say attributes to that for someone that's looking to start that side hustle into a business? That's someone that's feeling stuck in their business of the next step and hard to see that path of the next 2, 4, 6 years. What would you say to them?
I mean, I think a lot of it starts with consistency. When I talk about doing this as a side hustle or a side business, you can't just like when I want to do it, right? If you're going to do it, you've got to be consistent about it. And I think that's been one of the defining factors of what has made us be successful. Like I said, there's been no hockey stick growth for the business, but it has been consistent every
Right.
single year that there is growth. And it all comes back to showing up, being present, and there's always going to be a problem. I think everybody thinks when they're starting a business, this is what I think about. A lot of people think that, okay, once I get to this level, then all my problems are going to go away. Or once I get big enough and I can hire somebody to help me out or manage the operations, all my problems are going to go away. It's going to be super easy. No, that's never the case. You
They're just
just
new
have
problems.
new problems
Yep.
and
Yep.
they're just different. And that's what makes it so exciting because every day, every week, every month, right, is totally different and it challenges you. And if you are interested in that challenge, then you're going to be successful. But it's the
Mm.
people that are like, hey, I'm waffling. I want to make some money on the side, but I don't want to show up every day. Nobody's going to buy that stuff. Nobody's going to
Hmm.
buy, Justin Miller that is only available every other Friday
Right.
at 2 o'clock, right? You've got to be in it. And I think consistency is king in
Mm.
that regard.
So much good stuff. Let's pivot in the last couple minutes here of the
Yeah.
business. Tell us what you guys do. What do you do well? Talk to us about who you serve. How can you help?
Yeah. So we are an outsourced accounting practice. We specialize in outsourced accounting, bookkeeping, CFO work. So our bread and butter is doing the accounting for your business in a remote fashion and being that CFO advisor for you, meeting with you on a frequency that works for you to kind of coach you on your financials, your numbers, goals that we've established for you or you've established for yourself that you want to hit, and talk about tax planning. So really that's the three things that we talk about with every single client because we want them to be successful. We service businesses that are traditionally service-based businesses that have revenues less than $10 million. And I'm going to tell you like why that is because I'm going to be very transparent. At some point, when you have more than $10 million in revenue, you probably need some more on
Sure.
boots on the ground hand holding. And we're not that kind of service for you. We're in the remote setting. We're a cost effective approach. So if you think about typical service based client that maybe has a couple $1 million of revenue, they have like $100,000 perhaps in accounting related costs. Well, we're a cost effective approach that 9 times out of 10 you're going to get a better product. It's going to be much, much cheaper than having somebody in-house. And you're not going to see any difference in the production value of what somebody in-house would be delivering to you. So that's kind of the pitch. We work with about 65 different businesses scattered throughout New York State. We've got some in Arizona, Pennsylvania, Florida a little bit. And, that's the idea. I put a post out yesterday, specifically talking to nonprofits. A big area of our business is not-for-profit work. And the climate of not-for-profits, but also for-profits, is dramatically changing. And people need to be more cost conscious, right?
Mm.
They need to be more aggressive in thinking about how I compartmentalize my financials. They need to be thinking about tax planning. And if you don't have somebody that's going to be an advocate for you to hit all of those things, you're going to be left in the dust.
Mm.
And I think that that's where, service like us comes into play as a great solution for small businesses in the area. Again, we're very passionate about community. We give back a lot. We volunteer. We support every business that we work with, and really trying to just be a team player
Yeah.
with every client that we have. Because really, if you succeed, then we succeed, right?
Yeah. Two things I want to touch on. One is just a comment to what you said is, and I'm putting myself in the hot seat here, and I think every entrepreneur goes through this. When you're starting a business, and let's talk about the theme we've talked about. You got that side hustle you make into a full-time job. At some point, it becomes not just a hobby that you're not getting paid on and working a ton of hours for into a business, right? And I think like that's the pivotal point where it's like someone like yourself and your team, like you need to know your numbers. You need to know these things. You need to know what you're projecting. You need to know how you're going to get there. So like everything that you said is so relative to all that. The last point that I want to help you have you help provide some clarity on that I so inspire about you, about you, is you like know your target client and are very specific about that. You know, and you've made some pivots recently about that, but like knowing like we can't be everything to everyone. And here's why. And here's who we're looking to help, because we're very good at helping this said person, right? This type of business, this type of organization. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, and it's one of the big things that we've done. It's been a transition over roughly a 2-year time frame. We've actually transitioned our business away from being that one-off service that you come to for your tax prep every year, and we're going all in on accounting and CFO work. So basically, we'll do your taxes, but you've got to be a client of ours. So no longer do we actually work with the off the street, I come to you once a year for a tax client. And the reason for that is there's two main reasons. Number one, we crush it in the accounting and the CFO side. And I started the business to do just that. And I've always just done tax preparation as like the side business that kind of brings a little bit of additional revenue, but I'm more and more passionate about that. Number two, tax work is tough. You can talk to any tax professional, and not from the like, hey, it's difficult, we don't know what we're doing. It's the grind, because of you talk about busy season. It's a real thing where people get burnt out really, really fast, and we care so much about the culture and the people that work here that I'm willing to let go of a revenue source just because it brings in money to care more about. I don't want my people to work overtime. I don't want them to work on the weekends. And as a family business, Beth and I care, so much about this. Like, I don't want to work on the weekends. We want to make this a family-friendly business. We care about the culture. We care about the people that work here, and that those two things go hand in hand. So it was a big transition for us to, let go of that, but really, honing in on what we do well. We crush the financials. We are a great advocate. We know what's going on. Difference between a traditional, maybe I call it a traditional accounting firm, and like us, is when you're working with us, we're constantly thinking about what's available to you. And we've really talked to you about like, hey, Steve, have you talked about or thought about, this potential tax credit that's available? We're constantly meeting as a team, looking through our Rolodex of clients and say, hey, this new tax credit is out there. Who would it be applicable to? And then we're proactively reaching out to them, as opposed to a normal bookkeeping firm might just sit back and they're just cranking in transactions. That's different. You have an advocate when you're working with us, which is the big game changer difference, right?
And guess what? Steven doesn't think about that because Steven's working on insurance for his clients. Bob doesn't think about that because he's working on landscaping for his clients. John doesn't think about that. He's working about health and wellness for his clients. Like, you are that sector. And I always talk about this, like when you go through the phases, and trust me, I'm not any expert in this, but coming up on 3 years of business, those different phases of like, oh, this is just a hobby. I work a ton of hours, don't get paid for it. Now we're a business. Now we're bringing on team members, all of these things. When you go through that, the biggest realization that I've had of how important it is to hire a team. And I'm not talking about a team from the T5 insurance standpoint. I'm talking about a team of Justin handles my finances. This person handles this. This person helps me with this and this in my business, so that I can focus truly on delivering the customer experience that I want for my clients, for what they come to me for, and the rest is taken care of. And I know it's taken care of.
1,000%. One of the things when I first started my business that I always refer back to my clients, when I first started the business, I'm like, listen, I know what I'm going to charge per hour. I'm going to make a good clip. But I tracked my time diligently for 2 years. And I found out at the end of that 2 years, I spend 50% of my time doing client specific work. And this is when it was just Justin, right? And 50% of my time is running the business. So right off the bat, you got to double your rates just to be able to get back to break even, right?
Sure.
And that's when you talk about how do I find more time? If you have to find more client time, well, maybe you got to outsource a little bit of work to help you support that business.
So incredible. If we keep going, we'll be here for like 5 hours. So we're going to have to wrap it up. Justin, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us. And what I love about, I may be a little biased, but what I love about this podcast is like with the quick form, we can get through these things, and there's so many different things we can navigate. And I think that was a fantastic conversation. I really appreciate you, everything you've done for myself, my business, and your friendship. And thank you again for taking the time to be here.
Thanks, Dave. This has been great. Appreciate it.
Where can everybody reach out to you guys? Follow the journey, social media, website. Journey. What's the best place?
Definitely. Everything is at Universal Bookkeeper. So Universal Bookkeeper, universalbookkeeper.com, the website, Universal Bookkeeper, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
Awesome.
Perfect.
All right, everybody, that's a wrap of today's episode of 50T5. Hope you enjoyed this engaging conversation. Make sure to check out Justin, Beth, the entire team over there at Universal Bookkeeper. Make sure to check us out on our YouTube channel and Facebook page. It's where we're dropping all these episodes weekly. Be sure to subscribe there. Until next time, remember the power of connection and learning from one another is what makes our community thrive. But most importantly, remember to make an impact in someone's life today, even if that's your own. Stephen Turnbull here with T5 Insurance. We'll see you next week. Take care.